All right, welcome in. The floor is yours. An extension of 5 on the floor here on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. Thanks everybody who watched Feel the Heat earlier today. Also, 5 Rounds, our MMA show with Alex Dono that actually just finished up as well. There's a wrestling show, One Fall, coming up here a little bit later. We have more programming than Peacock, and it's easier to find than Peacock Premium is when you're trying to find USA basketball games. I'm Ethan Skolnick. Above me, Alex Toledo. He's already appeared on one show tonight. I'll try to get him to give totally different answers. You can follow him at Tropical Blanket. I'm actually working on an ad deal now with a distillery called Tropical Something, which I think is going to sponsor you next season. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, that way you don't have to change your Twitter handle. Still get verified. Greg Sylvander next to you. Brady Hawk beneath him. We appreciate it. Brady taking a 3-minute break from writing. We'll be here for the next 25 to 30 minutes. That's right. Brady and his guests are all here. All right, let's get
Brady
to
and the bunch.
Brady's bunch. I think that's what we're going to call this thing. That's pretty much the Summer League players. We are going to be covering Summer League, even though we don't have anybody there. Thanks, NBA, for that. We'll get into that in a side conversation. But what we're going to talk about today, we did 3 free agency episodes, obviously after the Lowry situation. Then we did a second day when they were kind of chasing DeRozan. And then the third day, the Oladipo signing. So those were our primary episodes. You can still catch all of those on the YouTube channel and on 5 on the floor. You can also, of course, catch the 5 Reasons Sports website, where Brady's got a bunch of new articles up there, including breakdown of day 2 at Summer League. This is presented, as always, by our friend Mark Brown. You can find him at markbrownpa.com, markbrownpa.com. If you want any kind of estate planning, he's the guy to go to. He's based right there in North Lauderdale off Cypress Creek and Andrews. He also has an in-house title company. He can help you when you're selling your house or you're buying a house in terms of handling the title. He can give you a $299 deal, which is a great deal if you mention 5 Reasons. The website is Mark Brown, M-A-R-C, brownpa.com, or 954-566-5678. We'll tell you about another sponsor as we get a little bit deeper into the program. All right, let's get to it. The big topic today, and I did not think this is where we would be on third or fourth day of free agency, is really, I don't know, we want to call him Turk Nowitzki. Shout out to Gad Cartagena of our network for that. Some of the other names that have come out. But, I mean, this 7-footer who's tearing up Summer League in a way that I don't really remember a lot of Heat players, even the best ones, the real surprises doing. I mean, Kendrick Nunn was great. Obviously, he was out there. And then there's the first-round guys you're expecting something from. But, I mean, this kid has been tremendous. And I go to you on this, Brady, first today, and then we'll get into the contractual issues. But, I mean, he looks special. Like, he looks like, I mean, he's legit. Like, doesn't he fill, if they sign him, isn't there potential he fills a lot of the needs that we've been talking about?
Definitely. I think where I've been at with young bigs that they're adding, I feel like you have to look into the future and see if they can play with Bam at some capacity. Yurtseven basically fills all of that. Defensively is probably his biggest weakness, but I still see there being a fit there with Bam being able to roam the perimeter in a certain way, and he can use his length as a shot blocker, as a rim protector. But offensively, he definitely is special. He can be used as a roller and a popper. He can shoot the 3 really well. He's scored at a high level, going for 100 in games at a younger age. I don't know what age it was, but he had 50 at the half or something. He can score the basketball. There's no doubt about that. And for guys his size, especially in this type of environment, you don't see them going into the post often. That's just not something you see in this type of day with young guys. And he's just basically done that and taken it to a whole nother level, being able to figure out switches, close them out, get the entry pass, and just take advantage of it with his soft touch. So he's a very good player. I think it's a player, if they develop him correctly, it's a player Spoelstra could use in a bunch of different ways because he's so versatile. So I think it's something, they're going to have to try to look at, try to lock up, because I think if they put him in their system for long enough, what has it been? One offseason, they got him at the end of last year. If they get him over a long period of time, I feel like it could really work out.
Yeah, and this actually is going to date me a little bit, and this is, I think, longer than you've been alive, Brady. But if I go to the 2003 Summer League, Greg, which I attended in Orlando when they used to do this thing in Orlando, which was great because you could just drive up. And that year, though, they expanded it because you had LeBron and Carmelo and Wade who were all there, and so they actually put LeBron in the big building at the time.
Wade was wearing number 5.
Wade was wearing number 5, and he was in the little building. And I remember distinctly that Udonis Haslem at one point was on the Spurs Summer League team.
That's right.
After coming back from overseas, and the Heat basically stole him from the Spurs and they've gotten 18 seasons out of it, and perhaps to the chagrin of some, although not to me, but sorry, Nikias, perhaps a 19th coming up here pretty soon, which I think may get announced here in the next few days. So let's look at it this way, Greg. My point is the Heat would not be showcasing this kid the way that they are to get poached, right? Like that just doesn't make any sense. So what do you think the plan is to keep him?
So his agent actually came out and said that it was at the player's request that he be released, that he not have his option picked up, and not have a qualifying offer extended like they did with Gabe Vincent and Max Strus. So that was actually at his request that they did that, and they proceeded in that direction. He then followed it by saying, we also would love to get a deal done immediately. So I think that that is where this thing is heading. I think that they saw something. This is similar to you remember how mad I got when they cut McGruder for Kendrick Nunn, and it was a really good move. It feels like it's something cut from that cloth. And when you just watch him play, initially I thought his 3-point shot was fake. And I went and looked at his stats and saw that the 1 year that he got the chance to shoot him at NC State, he was 22 of 44, 50%. So I'm like, this is a kid you got to get in the pipeline. And he's a Georgetown big. So he fits in perfectly there too. So I think that they're going to lock him up. I think that the only reason that he won't get scooped up is that he and the organization have been communicating about how they want this to proceed, and they're not going to let him slip.
Yeah, I don't anticipate that either. But Alex, again, when you look at him and some of the things Brady's talking about here, I still think that this team is thin up front. And we talk about, where they are, and I see some people on Twitter saying, their rotation is fine. They just need one swingman basically. And, Danny Green's off the market, a lot more money than they could spend. Wes Matthews didn't look particularly good last year, but we know that there's history of the Heat organization and Jimmy Butler with him, and that's potential. But I still think they need another rotation big. I look at what they have, and to me, there's still one short. Do you see any way he becomes that rotation big this season? Or are they still going to need to grab someone else somehow?
So a couple things about this. I see it a little bit both ways, but for different reasons. I could see them using another big in their rotation, not because they're not thin enough, because although Markieff and PJ are not tall, Markieff is a little bit taller than, he's got 2-3 inches on PJ Tucker, but both guys are stocky. PJ's extremely stocky, and I wanted them to be a lot more physical at the 4, and I feel with those two, they're set as far as thick or thin. I think they're way thicker than they were last season, and it's not even getting into Kyle Lowry, right? But really, the other reason I would say, really, I have two more reasons. Is you want to keep PJ healthy for the playoffs. You want him to be that guy to take on a heavy load when you're going to need to play more minutes. He's older. He's been doing this in the playoffs year after year after year at this point, and I know he's built for it, but I think getting another innings eater there is smart. Yurtseven is a big body, like you said. That shot looks good. He's just kind of he knows what his game is and how to get to what he's good at, right? And it's I
think we're underrating Dwayne Dedmon. I hate to interrupt. I think he's going to get a much bigger role this year than he got to finish out last year, and that is going to change the complexion of the front court.
I think the question though is we haven't seen him in a full season, and he never had that chance over the last year where I've been a proponent of, he's going to be the backup big, he's going to be in the rotation, but will he be sustainable for a whole season? I feel like that's the one question we're going to have.
Brady, let's get to this question. This comes in, I think, from GSH Everything 27. We appreciate the donation. We will absolutely read every single comment that you guys send here on the super chat. Brady, Marcus Garrett, Marcus Garrett, who I think has impressed people defensively, is a former college defensive player of the year for his conference. His height, though, what is he? What does he come in at?
I don't know his exact height, but he's a point guard. I think he means his peak. What's his peak ability?
Okay, his peak. Okay, I think we can look at it from both. I'll look up at his exact. I thought he was 6'3", but I'll take a look at it. That. But yeah,
his arms are long as hell.
Oh yeah, well let's take a look at him because he strikes me as the typical Heat two-way development player. I will say they had mixed success with small guards that they've brought in lately. I mean, who was the kid? I can't remember.
Briante.
Thank you. 6 times, right?
That
Briante
name
and-
came up in my head too. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie.
Right.
Marcus Garrett 6'5".
Okay.
And he's a point guard, so he's a taller point guard, and they like
that's
that.
really nice, man. Oh, that's
Nope.
real nice. Like you could easily see him being a good point of attack defender, like right away in the league. Because that's if you watch that guy defend guards, like he does not let up. He tries to go around screens. People are Gad is saying in the chat 6'11" wingspan. So I mean that's a weapon, man, and he's doing it already. It's not like the theoretical length. He's got like he's thin, but he's not Briante Weber thin, and he's got the length. Like I don't know, that might be somebody else who, you know, if they need a little bit more backcourt depth, if they don't pick up another backcourt guy here, like.
And one thing to clarify with Garrett is that he was given an Exhibit 10 contract, which means that no matter what goes on in these summer league games, he is coming to training camp. So they definitely see something a little bit more than they do with all the guys that they signed directly after the draft.
All right. Now let's ask another question. Now we know that Tyler Herro is going to be the first guard off the bench. Okay, that's pretty clear. Alex, we'll get to your comment in a second because this ties in with it. But let's assume that Herro is here. Going forward, and I know there's a lot of photos of him. Kind of, he's put on a little weight, which is something they want him to do in terms of getting in the gym. That was, and when I say the gym with him, it's not the gym like the court. Like that's not the issue with him. Primarily, the issue was he going to sort of put the work into his body? Assuming he's here, assuming he's the sixth man, and assuming that the Heat are going to play more than just 3 guards, because we know Spoelstra played 5 guards at times last year. Before Oladipo is back, let me ask you this question, Greg. Who is the ideal type of player to come off the bench with Tyler Herro? Do you want, because I've seen some debate about this. There are some who say give him the ball, let him be the creator off the bench, kind of like a Lou Williams type or anything like that, where he sort of has the ball in his hands a lot. And then there's others who are saying, well, they tried that last season. You want to give Tyler less to think about, and he's just basically, he can maybe come off some screens more, do some more spotting up. Those are 2 different types of players he's going to play with in the backcourt. So what kind of players should they be looking for?
I kind of think that they need to do a little bit more of what they did in his rookie season and get him going. Obviously, more and more, he's going to be capable with the ball in his hands. So like, that's the benefit of all this. Like, let that happen as it evolves. But initially, like when Lowry's not on the court, I don't feel like Herro should be having the burden of being any kind of quarterback at all. I think I would rather have Bam play a traditional point guard, walk the ball up the court, than Herro take that kind of responsibility right now. I feel like let it fly with him. Like, let's get him back to that confidence level where he is doing stuff offensively that you can only get when you get into a rhythm and a groove. And when you're looking for others, it's hard to do that. So for me, I hope that they go to him a lot offensively, but not necessarily with him creating it.
Brady, they need a point guard with him off the bench?
I've felt that way for a little bit of time, but the more I think about it, I just don't think you're going to see many minutes without Lowry, Butler, and Bam on the floor. Like, I feel like there's going to be at least one of them out there where you can grab more of a 2-way guy who can play the 3 and kind of just manipulate around from there. I agree with a lot of things Greg was saying about Tyler. The things he needs to do on the ball, I feel like it's just got to happen more than putting him in certain spots. Where does he thrive? I feel like they thought he was going to be a little bit more better off the catch because he fell off a little bit on catch and shoot threes. If he can get that back, I think that's going to be a big part of it. But I don't see him as a creator either, and I don't think he'll have to be because I just can't see them going for many minutes without all 3 of them on the bench.
Manny, and I want to go to Alex on this one. Manny, throw that comment back up about Herro at this point. The last one that we just got. Who would the Heat potentially trade Herro for? Let me pose this question a slightly different way to you, Alex. At this point, in your view, with the way that this team is constructed, has Tyler Herro's value to the Heat, not as a trade piece, because we talk about these guys as assets, but his value in terms of what he can provide, has he become more valuable to the Heat since these moves were made?
Undoubtedly.
Okay.
There's no doubt about that in my mind. I'm at the point where I've talked about different shows, like possibly, since they're going all in, considering him, trading him for a more win now piece. Guys like Harrison Barnes been thrown around, and I'm not even talking about doing anything like that. I've kind of just gone away from that for now. I think, considering the fact that they're kind of out on younger guys in general, and who knows, like if KZ is going to be out the door, if there's some sort of expanded trade scenario with Lowry, because that still hasn't been finalized. If PJ has something to do with that, and how he is acquired officially. So if they're really just gonna, I mean, obviously I don't blame them for doing what they're doing, and just like they're getting older, they're doing the all-in thing, but keeping that young guy there, I think he's gonna thrive with playing around a million defenders, surrounding him there, an extra point guard who's just gonna make the job easier for him. He doesn't have to be on the ball so much, and I completely agree with Brady. I think you could easily stagger where you can have somebody else with them, not only just another ball handler like Jimmy or Lowry, but like Bam. I think having Tyler on the floor with Bam is great because Bam doesn't even need to necessarily be the point guard, but we know that he's going to be the one with the ball in his hand, setting stuff up at the top of the top high post there, and Tyler could still get it going there off the dribble handoff. I know we're tired of the handoff, but Spo went to it a lot because there's advantages to it, and it's a way to get Tyler in advantageous positions where he doesn't have to create for himself, doesn't have to create too much separation. He can just use Bam's screen and go from there. So I think we could see a lot of that. It's like there's going to be a lot more lineup versatility, and although I feel like they could use a little bit more depth to add to that, because of the lack of depth, because of the lack of shooting outside of him and Duncan and Lowry, you're going to need Tyler, and you're going to need him to be good. And I wanted an extra shot creator till Depot comes back, but if I had to go with one position, it would be the wing defender. Like if they could get a Josh Hart, obviously that would be ideal, or Oubre or Wesley Matthews on a lower end. I think that type of guy would play in the playoffs more than another guard.
To the viewer's question about what would Herro's value be, let me throw you guys out a couple names that the salaries are the same quickly here. Would you trade Tyler Herro for PJ Washington in Charlotte? Since they're about to bring in Markkanen and they've done a bunch of weird stuff with their front court, would you do that head up? I'm asking
There's
the
no way
room.
they do that. There's no way.
I would. I'd think about it. I don't know that I would necessarily do it.
And also, to be clear, I was saying there's no way. Like I wouldn't believe that the Hornets would do that. Like to trade PJ to build around market, and like PJ has shown way more to me.
No, but they did move. I mean, Devontae Graham's not there anymore. They're a little more shallow in the backcourt.
To be clear, I'm trying to assess like what is his value in the league. Like, is there a win now piece that we would trade for that's in that $4 million range?
That's the thing.
I'm trying to give you guys a quick example. Bear with me here. I'll find one fast.
Contracts to move. It's a good point you're making. Like they don't.
While you're looking at one. While you're looking at one, I want to get in one more sponsor, and then we're going to read that comment. So you look for it, Greg. But we do want to tell you about Therapist Preferred. Go to therapistpreferred.com. Use the code 5REASONS. That's the number 5 and reasons. You get 25% off your order. You'll get it about within a week. This is premium CBD. Nothing in there that's going to get you to fail a drug test or anything like that. I can tell you, and I have said this before, that strawberry lemonade, those are the ones that get me to go to sleep. And that's what I need sometimes, particularly after a long night working here. Alex likes the green apple ones. Check out also the tincture and everything else that they provide there. Sports cream for recovery. So go to therapistpreferred.com. Use the code 5REASONS for 25% off. All right, Greg, what do you got? And then I want to get to that next question.
I mean, would we get like Colin Sexton? Does he make more sense on this roster today than Tyler Herro?
Haven't we had that debate?
I'm just quickly.
I mean, on this
roster, that's what I'm saying. Just quickly.
I mean, Colin Sexton on this roster
he's a win now piece compared to Tyler.
Would be coming off the bench, right, as a bucket getter off the bench, basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, we don't know what direction Cleveland's going to go there. They just spent a lot of money on Jared Allen, but it's an interesting name. I do want to get to this next comment though, as we kind of let's throw this one in from the super chat. What's going on with Andre Iguodala? This is what we had heard, okay, that they wanted Andre to play ball on some stuff when they were trying to get the DeRozan thing going, and that he really didn't. And look, that's his right, because he wanted to get himself to Golden State, but he's still not in Golden State. Golden State really doesn't have any money to spend. Greg, it looks like if Iguodala, I mean, they still have his bird rights, right? But
they do, but he wants to be in Golden State. They still have to make roster moves, like they brought in Bjelica, they brought in Otto Porter. So they have to cut guys. They, traded off a guy the other night. So they're probably going to do a little bit more of that. And I think Iguodala will get a vet minimum deal there eventually, but like he turned down a $15 million, like it wasn't his option, but it could have been his option if he was willing to play, and he turned it down. So I think it's pretty much he'll end up in Golden State somehow. One
other thing, Bielitsa is a player we haven't really talked about having been off the Heat roster, but I think we can say it now. The Heat were not thrilled with Bielitsa when he was here.
No, that Terry Mills vibes.
Ethan. Yeah. They were not happy with the conditioning, but something we really didn't discuss at the time. Yeah, that's an old name. That's a Michigan name. Terry Mills, one of the that's a post-Juwan thing. I will say that they were not happy also because he was doing a lot of complaining behind the scenes about not playing, and you know how they don't really go for that. We will get to the last roster spot stuff in a second, but throw that next comment up there. We had it.
That's my fault.
All right. Garrett's defensive ability is unreal. Surely his offensive game isn't so bad that he went undrafted. Why do we think ultimately he wasn't drafted? Do we have any idea on that? I did see some people posting who watched him on a regular basis saying there are reasons he wasn't drafted, and nobody actually gave the reason. I was looking at this on Twitter. Why would you think, Brady?
I think it's just the offensive question marks. Like that's just where it comes down to. Looking from a Heat perspective, they kind of like guys that are one-way players on the defensive end. Some of them haven't worked out, but they still like them. But I think so far in these two games, he's shown enough flashes where I'd say he's pretty much a lock for a two-way. Like I just don't see a way that he's not a part of this team in some way. If they're picking guys from this group, mentioning the defensive stuff is unreal. It's just we look at past guys that are good defenders in this space, but I don't think any of them were this solid at this point in every kind of area where he's picking up full court, he's accumulating steals, he's fighting over screens, nobody can beat him off the dribble. It's like there's more there than past guys, I feel, and the offensive stuff can kind of be worked out. He's not shooting. I don't know if he's even attempted, many deep balls, but he can drive, he can finish around the rim. He's not scared to take contact. He's as physical on offense as he is on defense. So I just feel like there is enough there that you can make it work, and then kind of put him with the shooting coach and try to see if you can get something there even a little bit. But the defensive stuff is just, it's too good to pass up that I just can't see them picking another guy.
I will say, too, they like you mentioned, they brought in some defensive guys, and they've gotten passable play out of them when they figured out one thing they could do offensively, whether it was Rodney McGruder, some of the others that they brought in over the years. All right, this question comes in from Keenan. This is not in the Super Chat. This is the last one I'll read, not on the Super Chat, because I know it's Alex's favorite topic, but this does play into something we want to get into. Ethan, why isn't there any talk about bringing Justice back? He's the perfect wing defender off the bench. He knows the defense, and he'll be more aware than KZ. All right, I'm going to answer it first from my sort of...
Well, yeah, they asked you specifically.
Okay, so I will answer it first. I just think, and it shows you how far guys can kind of fall out of favor pretty quickly. They just didn't see him as a Heat guy anymore. We've talked about this. I like Justice personally. I think, obviously, we know Alex's feelings and others' feelings, but they just didn't feel he wanted to be here. They had the dispute with him over the back injury, where I think they felt they were trying to protect him to a certain degree, and he didn't want that. I don't look. They will circle after guys again and again and again who they try to get. But if they have a guy and it sours, unless that guy is Michael Beasley, it doesn't seem like they go back to that well. I would be surprised. I think it's more likely that they would bring in a Tyler Johnson than a Justice Winslow. Alex, I know you're going to fight with me about that, but they know that
no
Tyler will accept.
Tyler.
Well, they know that Tyler Johnson will accept a role. Okay, they know kind of what he's quote-unquote made of to a certain degree, and I think they thought that Justice was, but Justice wanted to be the face of a franchise before he was really ready to be a face of the franchise, and then it didn't really click with him and them. Like, is that a crazy thought that if you had a minimum, if someone was to say this like 2 years ago, you had a minimum contract to give out, and you give it to Justice Winslow or Tyler Johnson, and I would say they would give it to Tyler Johnson.
I can't believe that, because I tweeted like a couple years ago. I actually deleted a tweet today, guys, where I said Justice Winslow is now the Heat's best player. I was scrolling back through old tweets.
Why are you deleting it? You can delete tweets.
Oh, yes, I can.
The only tweets I ever deleted.
And I didn't have to tell y'all that just now, so this just organically came. I appreciate he fell far. He fell far from grace.
The only tweet you ever delete is if you're complaining about a potential sponsor. Like I used to on the air Chris Winningham and Chris Cochran went in one day, an hour before my show on 790, and went into my account and deleted every tweet where I trashed Xfinity for their horrible service because we were bringing in Xfinity as a sponsor. That's the one time that you delete.
We have news.
Yes, go ahead.
But Shams is gonna say it. He's narrowed his playing choice to 3 teams. Andre Iguodala. I can't play it because YouTube will scrap us, but he's talking about it, so I can't tell y'all what he's saying. Sorry, never mind.
Okay.
I thought it was going to be a tweet. It's a video.
Just go on mute and listen to it. Wow.
We'll see after. I don't know if Andre's going to hold the decision thing. But you have Andre Iguodala and Lionel Messi can give their next team together on a decision special with Jim Gray. Here we go. Barai appears. Shams just said Nets, Lakers, Warriors for Iggy.
The most obvious teams. Like
none of those.
I didn't need to watch that video. I could have told you that.
None of those 3 are surprised.
The Nets surprised me actually.
Yeah,
he has the relationships there too.
Yeah, he does.
You're not even gonna get my justice opinion. This is silencing
the
press.
Okay, well, you give a justice opinion, but do it quickly because I want to get to Arbron's comment here. Go ahead.
All right, I'm gonna do it quickly. The justice thing, I completely understand why people wouldn't want to go after him with a limited amount of roster spots left, knowing one of them's going to UD. You already got a roster spot going to Oladipo. When we back to the second half of the season, if there's any injury concerns with justice, I don't understand doing it. However, if all of these other options that are out there start to dwindle down even more, like there's no more Wes Matthews, no more Millsap, none of these other guys who wanted more money like Oubre, Reggie Jackson, Schroeder, Josh Hart. If all of those guys are out of there, and I said this on Field of Heat just now, like, is it really that bad of an idea to take a flyer on Justice, who's shown you more recently than Tyler that he can be a good player? Like, knowing how bad he was in Memphis, the injury stuff, all that baggage, the stuff.
I could find another guy I'd like more.
Huh?
I could find another guy that I like more.
Like who?
I have to scroll on my phone a little bit.
I'll
go Garrison Matthews.
James Ennis and Garrison Matthews over Justice? Like, what are we talking? We're talking about.
Hey, Garrison Matthews has scored more against the Heat than Justice Winslow's career high.
But he won't be playing against the Heat anymore. So what are we doing?
All right, here I'm gonna poll this. This is gonna be the most popular poll we've ever done. Something we discussed on Floor is Yours. If you give a roster spot to one of these 3 players, who would you choose? You can't say none. Udonis Haslem, Justice Winslow, or Tyler Johnson. You can only, or if I threw Michael Beasley in there, what would
Beasley
people
instead of UD? The players who can play right now.
We saw UD play for 3 minutes. He played great.
Can I pose one question though? Is it
if
fair
you
to
put
say
Beasley, they're gonna all choose Beasley.
I'm putting it in. You ready?
I'm Beasley back 4 times, but they can't bring Winslow back, who's not a Heat player, but is an incredible defensive player when he was healthy. Like,
where would the offense be coming if they added Justice? Let's say he's a part of the 9-man rotation.
Playing with Tyler Duncan or
Tyler. Justice, Markieff Morris, and Dedmon off the bench.
Yeah.
Like, where's
we gotta
the
stop.
offense?
Brady.
I mean, to be honest, though, here's the thing. This is the one thing I agree with Alex.
We talked about staggering.
If there wasn't kind of the bad blood from the end of it, okay, and the way it played out, you could make a case that Justice Winslow as the backup point guard and wing defender on this team with Tyler playing off the ball
can play multiple positions
would actually make sense. And I can tell you, and you can clip this, Greg, Brady, Alex, there's no way in hell they're doing it.
I believe that.
Okay. But I
they brought Beasley back 3 times.
I understand.
It was a different era.
What we know about that organization to bring back Michael Beasley 3 times.
I understand, but with Beasley, as much as he was a nuisance in so many ways, and there are stories I could tell you for days, okay, and stuff that was buried that never made it out to the media, to the full media at the time, and everything that they had to deal with, I don't feel like they felt they clashed with Michael about a particular issue the way they did with Justice those last few months. I'm just saying, like, I just think a lot of Beasley's stuff is kind of harmless. I love Beasley.
This is not shots.
And I like Justice personally a lot. To me, he's one of the most interesting young guys I've ever covered. Like, I just think that they closed that era when all of that went down.
Is Stanley Johnson and Dennis Smith Jr. both free agents? Gosh, what falls! I mean, like either one of those. Like, I'd rather take a shot on
look at that entire draft, Greg.
I would take either one of those over Justice Winslow. Yes, Nikias, I said it.
Oh my God. I don't think I've ever gotten angry with Leif before, but Stanley Johnson and Dennis Smith over Justice? Those guys
We
are trash.
thought
I'm just
they were
saying it to
drafting
piss you
Stanley
off.
Johnson, Alex. We thought they were
Stanley
drafting
Johnson?
Stanley Johnson. They
The
thought they were
Raptors couldn't
drafting
even-
Stanley Johnson.
The Raptors didn't even want to bring him back as their 15th man. Like,
Here
oh
we
my-
go. Brian,
I'd go
Brian,
Deladova.
Brian Drake. Oh, don't do that. Brian Drake comes in. James Ennis or Dennis Smith Jr. This is where we're at.
James
in free
Ennis.
agency.
No doubt. James Ennis. Come
Bam
on.
is
James
a Dennis Smith Jr. fan. You know that. There's a relationship there.
Would Pat Riley be a Dennis Smith Jr. fan at this stage?
Probably not, but I can tell you he was. All right, here. You want to hear how the poll's going
Just
here
gotta
before we
keep
close
Omar.
out? Here's how the poll's going. You ready?
Omar.
Leading Udonis Haslem at 49%. Justice Winslow at 25%. Michael Beasley at 16%. And
Wow.
Bumpy gets no love.
Wow.
10%.
I thought Justice would have been fourth.
Now he's
Um,
second.
Did anyone
Alex
sign
opened up a couple of
Chason?
accounts.
I don't know how to say the
Jason.
first name. So sorry. Randall. Chason Randall. How you say his
Jason
first
Randall.
name?
No, he's still there.
It's like Jason, but with a CH. It's really weird.
Is he a free agent?
I believe he is.
I know
guy
it's a
from
weird
Stanford?
name out of nowhere. Just keep your eye on it.
Could you imagine them bringing Dellavedova, though, of all players?
That
I
was
mean,
totally me just throwing a name out there to piss Alex
I know,
off.
I
That's
understand
not
that, but I mean, kind of fits with this group in a weird way.
Troy
Like,
Daniels. Watch that name.
Oh my God.
They looked at him like 5 years
This
ago.
is getting ridiculous.
No, I'm just pissing Alex.
By the way, I watched Wes Matthews play last year, man. I think he's cooked. I really do. And I thought he was pretty good in the playoff series against the Heat.
Just have him defend and spot up easy. 15 minutes a game, chilling.
I don't know. My God, end the stream. Thanks, Royal. All right, thanks, Brady. Thanks, Alex. I know Manny's got to go. We'll be back early next week. Obviously, we're waiting on a Kyle Lowry press conference. We'll see when that happens. Jimmy Butler going to sign that extension tomorrow. We've known that was coming. We told you to relax about the Jimmy Butler extension, that it would get done. I'm telling you to relax about the Turk Nowitzki. It's going to be fine. I would be stunned if they don't keep him one way or the other. Joel Prieto, we apologize for scraping the bottom of the barrel. It's been a long week.
So we all agree, bring back Justice and Beasley
I
Done.
mean,
with the last
And Rio and Norris.
no, we're not bringing back Norris because Norris is with us now. By the way, if
Yeah.
everybody didn't hear that, Norris Cole is now an analyst with us. Maybe we should bring him in and ask. I will tell you, if I pulled Norris right now on this thing, if I pulled Rio right now on this thing, they would both
man.
pull ahead of Winslow.
Can we get Norris to run with us at the media challenge?
As long as I'm coaching, that's
There
fine.
you go.
Coach
Big,
Sco.
big trophy.
God, please, no.
All right, Manny, get the hell out of here. Thanks, everybody. Therapist Preferred, MarkBrownPA.com, Price Picks. Use the code 5. Have a good night.